Hi, I'm Jennifer Jill Araya.
And I'm Sarah Beth Goer.
Welcome to the Crafting Audiobooks podcast, where we discuss the art and craft of audiobooks, and we aim to go deep quick.
Welcome, everybody. Very excited to be here today with Deepti Gupta, award-winning actor and audiobook narrator. Deepti, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I feel like I've been away from audiobooks for a bit. And so my mind is a little bit in a scramble.
Oh, yeah.
And be like, what? But I'm also excited because I'm curious to see what comes up now, having not been doing it day to day for a few months.
Yeah. All right. We'll be slow and gentle and sort of digest and process here.
Thank you.
The first question we were wondering about today is, when you are recording, can you describe where you're focusing? You know, are you aware of your body, or are you seeing a visual? And does that change based on whether it's the narrative or the dialogue? Like, where is your focus as you record?
Depends on the kind of day I'm having. And just in my own journey as an artist, what I'm exploring. So during the pandemic, there was a book that I decided I was going to narrate in the evenings at night, because I was curious what elements would show up without me trying to bring them out. Or I've tried standing and narrating just to see what happens to breath support. How long can I handle standing versus sitting? I've tried different chairs because even now I'm in the process of like, this one, I don't know. I'm curious about something else. Partially because I like new gadgets in my booth. It makes it fun to explore. And in terms of text, I feel like when I choose a focus beforehand, I always get in my head. And that is never a fun place for me to be, because it's hard to sustain that kind of mental focus. And I feel like it inhibits the work for me. So I mean, when the writing is good, you feel like you're just coasting on the words. That's like, how did this happen? I love dialogue. I feel like that kind of wakes me up. I love literary descriptions that, like, the author, is painting a picture with their words. And then I get to just I feel like I get to submerge in that word by word myself, and then that translates. So I don't know. I didn't directly really answer your question, but I was all over the place.
It sounds like, I got an answer from what you said, which is that it's a very intuitive process, and you're connected. And so it's not something that you're thinking about where you're focused. You are just in it.
Yes, that's my hope, that can happen every day in the booth. And you know how it is sometimes. It's a slog, and then you motivate yourself through different things to try to get through things.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that your process is open to how you feel that day in that moment with this particular text and, this particular set of circumstances going on in your life outside of the booth and what you're bringing. It feels like it is very much able to respond to exactly this place and what you're able to bring that day, which I think is lovely.
Thank you for articulating that. I think I used to not be like that. I used to feel the pressure to perform in a uniform manner every day, especially, when you're doing a long audiobook. One of the expectations is to have consistency, and that I found over time to feel like such a straitjacket that I didn't know. And it was making narration not fun because I felt like I had to put myself outside of the booth and come in here in this and be somebody else. And that is the job of an actor. But whatever is happening subconsciously, physiologically, is going to be in the booth with me. And so after trying to fight that for a long time, I was like, okay, that isn't working. And is it possible that however I'm feeling can just be here? And I begin, and in some ways, the words will carry me. And maybe the first 10 minutes are going to suck. I mean, it's not like how bad could it be? So I had to kind of tell myself it's not going to be that bad. And then I was like, okay, if the first 10 minutes is not going to be brilliant, that's fine. But maybe I just need the words to comfort me away from my life and into this other world. And then when it's going, then you forget all the things that are happening because now you're in the story. And in fact, then the narration work feels rejuvenating, not exhausting. I remember years ago, I'd just come back from India after visiting my family, and there was some drama going on, and I'd just come back, so full of agitation. And I had to go to PRH, and I was recording in the studio, and I was nervous because I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna buckle up? I gotta show up and all those things. And somehow I got through the first initial phase of it. And day 3, I remember feeling like, my life is back in me. And I didn't have to, I mean, the book did that. So that's lovely when that happens.
Yeah, when a project can be creatively refilling and refreshing as part of the artistic process itself is truly light. Doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's great.
And especially when you're doing nonfiction narration, it tends to be more dry, and that does require some connection with the subject matter, so you can do that. But earlier this year, so I'm always in exploration with my on-camera acting work and my narration work. And earlier this year, it's been a rough year. And there was a point where I felt like I can't go on. I can't be a creative. I can't, because I felt like to be a creative who performs at a certain level, you needed to have your shit together, and you needed to feel a certain way, and you needed to be above, water level and all of those things. But yet I have to work. And so what do you do when you're not optimal? You still have to show up. And the thing that provides me solace sometimes is kind of like Mother Earth, but Mother Art, that she welcomes you in every state of being. She doesn't expect performance as we may think is expected in our jobs, but you can show up broken, torn up, whatever, and she'll be like, here's a crayon, go to town, have at it, right? And I just was like, oh, that's the kind of holding that I feel like an artist thrives in, where you can truly be how you are and not feel like you have to tear parts of you away to show up to your art. So sometimes that helps.
That was so beautifully put. I don't think I'm ever going to forget that metaphor that you just gave of Mother Art and here's the crayon. Like, that's so beautiful.
Thank you. It's a process. I'm not
Like,
an
now I
expert at
understand
it.
why today is the day we're having you on the podcast instead of like a year ago, because this is the wisdom you're meant to bring to the podcast today.
Thank you.
Well, Deepti, we've been talking about your process in general. I would love to make it a little bit more specific. Would you be willing to share with us one book that you've narrated that you think is an example of you at your very best as an audiobook artist? And what was your biggest creative challenge when recording that book?
Okay, so I'm not a very technical person. My approach to my craft is, not technical. I hate action objective beats. If anybody who's ever done acting classes and they do that, I'm just like, I will be an engineer if this is how I need to approach a script. I don't, I was just what's coming to my mind. Maybe something else will pop up. The Parted Earth that I won the Audie for. When they first sent me to audition for it, I did it, and this was during the pandemic, and didn't think anything of it. And then they came back to me and they said, "We want you to redo this, but with more of an American accent." And I was like, "Oh." I almost was going to say, "Sorry." And then I was like, "You know what? I'm just going to be transparent." And I said, "Well, I don't have a standard American accent. This is what I have because I am an immigrant, and I've learned and I've lost some of my authentic whatever it was, and some of it is still there, and now it's this goulash of whatever it is. And this is the best I can do. If that's not your cup of tea, I totally understand." And they came back and they were like, "No, that's fine." But then that got in my head. And so now, before starting, I had to really coach myself to, even though I got the book, that little thing of like, but they are compromising by hiring me is where I went, right? And so I would say I had to just really be like, focus on the story, focus on the story. Whatever needs to happen will happen. Trust that'll be fine. And that I feel like got me through a big chunk of it. And then there were characters that spoke in a British accent. There was an older lady who kind of spoke German or / something else mix. I was like, "Oh my God, how am I going to do that?" And even when I sent in my recording, I was like, the proofer is going to listen to it and be like, "What the heck is she doing?" And they're going to flag it, and I'm going to have to redo it, and how embarrassing that was going to be. They didn't flag it. And I was like, "Oh my God, thank God, whatever." So, and I feel like for me, a lot of my work tends to be getting out of my own way. And trusting on a daily basis that what is happening is good enough. And especially when you narrate by yourself, that is, I find, the hardest thing. Other than that, I feel like technical things, like I was doing a nonfiction book. It was a lot of medical jargon, long sentences. And that's just like, okay, you kind of do your best to make it make sense. And then you move on because you're like, well, the writing is what it is, and I'm doing my best. So I think I'm realizing my process is a lot of self-talk. Did that answer your question?
It did, absolutely. Okay. And one of the things that I sort of am feeling in my soul from what you shared about your journey with the Planted Earth, was that the title? Yeah, I thought
Parted Earth.
The Parted Earth, pardon me. But part of what I feel in your soul about, or in my soul about your journey working on the Parted Earth, is that you were doubting yourself, but doing the best that you could and trusting that it would come across the way that it was meant to. And then, boy, did it, because, you won the Audie for it. And I think a lot as artists, we can have those kinds of almost unrealistic expectations of ourselves that we're going to both perform super high and be confident while we're doing it. And sometimes we're just performing, but not confident of that performance and just trusting that the listener will hear what they need to hear.
Yes. I remember when I was part of PANA and I was chairing the DEI committee, and that was such a great group. We had great conversations. And one of the things that I don't remember how it came up, but I was like, words are sounds, sounds are wavelengths. So when you're listening to my words, it's less that yes, your brain is engaged in the language I'm the meanings I'm sending, but you're really resonating to the wavelengths. And if I don't know, like, my top-notch performance, how it's going to sound, but I know that if I don't know, maybe gentle or kind with myself as I'm engaging with the story, that there's this place of softness, then that will translate in the wavelength. Even though someone who's very judgy about performance stuff may look at it and be like, I don't know, that word, that sentence, that thing, that whatever. Like, those are valid critiques if that's how you want to listen to something. But I feel like when I latch onto someone's narration, it's less because their technique is so brilliant. For me, it's more how they make me feel in the story, how it feels to be with them. And I guess the other thing then, this is great. I'm learning about my own process.
Yes, this is what this podcast is for.
Then I'm realizing that that's always my intention, is to take care of the listener, is to like as if I'm the host of the party, and I'm like, come, don't worry about anything. I have water, I have wine. What do you want? Have a seat. Let's hang out. And that feels like that invites the best parts of me to the booth.
That's so brilliant. I mean, I had thought about like tone or energy, but I had never ever put it in like I had never imagined it in that way of like, but it's literally translating in the waveform. And that's what we were connecting with, is like, often we as narrators are so concerned about things like, oh no, how will I do this partially German, partially something else accent? And I haven't even studied a German accent or whatever it is. And meanwhile, the listener, like the true depth of experience gets created for through how we're showing up as a human, holding space for this story that other humans are, and inviting the other humans in to listen to the story.
Yeah, because I mean, like, if you think about meeting a stranger and like what engages you about talking to them and whatever they're going through and they're sharing with you, they're not like super whatever. It's because they're just, it's from the heart. That's like, there's a real need for them to tell you something. And if I can tap into that, like, that's a great day of recording. And then, of course, after hour 2, you're like, can I be done now? And then you have to figure out ways to motivate yourself to finish whatever you've decided you're going to do today.
Something else I'm curious about, and I don't know if you'll say, I feel I've already answered this question, but I want to ask it anyway in case something new bubbles up, which is, what is something specific that you've learned about your craft over time that has a big impact in your day-to-day work? Like, I feel like you've been answering that question all episode long, but I wonder if it brings up further thought.
I think trust is the word. I am taking Fitzmaurice voice work classes right now. And if someone doesn't know, I find it really amazing. It taps into your autonomous nervous system. So you really, without hear, but through your body, learn how you're doing. I'm a very sharp thinker, and sometimes that's my own detriment. So I need other ways to access my kind of deeper self. And just growing up, I feel like my conditioning has been so much to seek external validation and if you say I did well, then I did well. That I have no way to know, am I really doing well? And my own criteria to judge my work is going to be the criteria you're going to use. So I have no criteria of my own that tells me how am I doing. And to me, that's part of the self-trust that I feel like I have had to learn, because without that, it is hard to do what we do. Because you get a book. The week when I won my Audi, I had 0 books on my calendar. And for the 3 weeks after that, I had 0 books on my calendar. And I was like, what the heck is this? What does this award mean? Nothing. And so, like, those things are out of your control. It's happening or not happening. People are giving you work or not giving you work. And in the meantime, then, how do you not turn against yourself? And not give in to well, everybody else is busy. Oh my God, something must be wrong with me for why I don't have any books. And my last book this year, I did in April? Yeah, April, May. And I haven't had any since then. And, money and all of that aside, this time I have not panicked.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of also learning from other places, like artists go through seasons. And it's important to pay attention to that. We are not machines. And I refuse to be a machine. I keep on insisting that my full self shows up, even if it is not wanted by the system. And so, and like this audition opportunity for an audiobook came up, that one came up. And I was like, okay, well, if it happens, that would be great. My calendar will fill up. In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy is a weird word, but I'm going to tend to this time of, dip or whatever you want to call it, even like life is always happening. And so when the focus kind of broadens and it's not just narration work or even other acting work, I'm learning. That where I am is okay. This is where to be. And because I grew up with a lot of striving. What's next? What's next? Until I had a thing to show for, I would think my time was wasted. And so trying to shift that and redefine what success means is the journey I think I'm on.
That is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that level of trust is something that's really hard to find. But as you pointed out, we can't control others' validation or not of the work that we do. And so do it for ourselves with our whole selves. And that's what matters.
And it's hard to sustain that on a daily basis. Someone makes a post about, my audio file review, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, when was the last time I got one? Or like, I never got one. What does it take? Oh my God. And you're in this agitation there's a podcast that I would like to plug.
Yes.
It's called Artists for Joy by Meredith Height Estevez. I've been following it for a few years, and she has a book called The Artist's Joy. And I have learned so much from her. She's a Juilliard-trained oboist and PhD in something, I don't know. Oh, in music. And she's a coach and whatnot. And it feels like she's able to tap into that softer part of being an artist that often others ignore because they're only interested in the product that you are. But then in the process, you too start to ignore. And how I feel it is so important on a daily basis to tend to that part. And it takes attention, it takes intention. But when you're able to do that, then your inner artist child is so happy to go wherever you want to take it.
Absolutely. So fun little side story. I actually went to college with Meredith Height Estevez, although she was Meredith Height at that point.
Yes!
And,
oh my God!
Yeah, and I've read The Artist's Joy and actually talked about it in a previous episode. I don't remember when, but it was a while ago when it first came
that's
out.
awesome. That's awesome. So
I was on her ARC team.
Double recommendation.
Double plug. Yeah.
Yes.
But no, I think you're absolutely right that allowing yourself to tend to yourself is what then can allow you to show up with your full self to the work that you do.
Yeah, and trusting that even if how you're showing up isn't perfect, isn't what you think or that others will be like, yeah, that was A+. How do you then meet yourself in that moment and be like, it's fine. My job is not to be A+. My job is to just be here, words, me, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's hard.
But doable. Yes, we'll do it. Over more and more with years and wisdom. I think it gets with practice. It gets easier.
Yes.
But maybe never easy. Or maybe it does. Maybe a day comes where one grows to the level of wisdom where it is useful to be in that much self-trust. I haven't experienced it yet,
because I any actors that I watch or narrators that I listen to that I feel like drawn to, there's an ease that they always have. And I don't know how they're getting there, but my interpretation of that ease, this is the path I think will get me there. But maybe they're like super technical about their stuff. I have no idea.
And maybe they don't feel easeful, right? Like maybe we're observing this ease and they're saying like, oh, what did I do? Was it good enough? So-and-so didn't seem to like it. Like,
that is a great point. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Or maybe sometimes they're in that ease and sometimes they're not. And they're like, I don't know. I'm on some days and off other days.
Yes.
I remember listening to Billy Crudup, who I think is just a freaking brilliant actor. Talk about a day on set where like he needed to, I can't remember exactly what was going on, but like needed to sob, break down in tears. And he was like, this is not happening today. And the director was like, well, act. and he was so displeased with his own performance, but he just like did the work that he showed up how he was that day and did what he could do that day.
Yes. There's great value in that. Because you're not pushing away any part of you.
Yeah.
As you said, trust. Well, believe it or not, we are on to our final question, which all three of us will answer. And the question is, what is exciting you? What has you fired up about the craft of audiobooks right now, this instant, today? And Sarah, why don't you go first and share what's exciting you?
Sure. It's very in keeping with what we've been talking about all episode long. And maybe a little bit corny, but I think also profound, which is today I'm excited about love bringing love on the days I'm exhausted and I don't really feel like recording, remembering the love of my craft or of the practice. And on days when I'm feeling really self-conscious, bringing a lot of extra self-love with me into the booth to really nurture that journey. And maybe if I'm working on a book that is really not to my taste, or, maybe needed some more editing or whatever it is, to bring the love and care for the author and for the audience that's going to be connecting to the story. And so that's what I'm juiced up about today, is how love can support the craft in so many different ways.
That's not corny at all.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What about you, Jennifer?
Oh, sure. So what's kind of on my mind today is actually the people and the space of the audiobook industry. Audiobooks sort of as a career tend to attract a lot of people with neurodivergences or various disabilities, or as I prefer saying, differing abilities. And there have actually been studies done that show that people with neurodivergences are, or neurospiciness of any kind, actually tend to gravitate toward creative professions. And I feel like audiobooks in particular, that there are even more of those fabulous neurospicy people in them than some other creative industries that I've been a part of. And added to that, I know more than a handful of narrators who have, chronic health conditions of some sort. I have a pretty severe chronic pain disability. And so just today, I am really full of gratitude to the audiobook world for accepting all of these differences, whether that's neurospiciness or people who are differently abled in some way. I had a performance job before I transitioned into audiobooks. And quite frankly, if I hadn't found audiobooks, I would no longer be able to do that performance job today because of the chronic pain condition that I have. And with audiobooks, I can set my own schedule and keep my workload flexible enough that I am able to do this job and, found some measure of success doing it. So I'm just really filled with gratitude today for this industry accepting me as I am and giving me a place where I can thrive. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Absolutely.
I was so lost in both your answers that I was like, I don't know. What am I answering?
Yes. So what you're answering is, what about the craft of audiobooks really has you excited and full of emotion and feeling right now?
What comes is, it feels like this little, because I am actively pursuing my career on camera as well. So, and most of those people don't understand audiobooks. So in the scope of that world, audiobooks feel like my little corner where I get to play and mess up or don't mess up or whatever. Just like, it's my own playground where there's, whatever. It feels like there's not that many eyes and ears that I could just like, it feels safe and it feels full of opportunity to play. They almost like there are fewer rules than there might be in other professions, because each book can be different, and so there's just it, and that I value and cherish about audiobooks.
Oh, that's delightful.
I've probably said this on the podcast sometime before, but there's that saying that TV is a writer's medium and film is the director's medium and theater is an actor's medium. And after becoming an audiobook narrator, I was like, oh, no. Audiobooks are an actor's medium because of that. There's such expansive play, and we're cast in roles we wouldn't be cast in with very little limitation. Like, yes, how our voice sounds to people, informs how we're cast, but even then we're playing this whole host of characters within the book. Like, it is this playground. And it strikes me, we were talking earlier about how the self-trust can be difficult to cultivate being isolated alone in our booth. Like, it can be easy to get in our head being like, is this good? Nobody's giving me feedback.
Yeah.
But conversely, it can also be like the perfect playground for cultivating self-trust, because we aren't, on set with all these opinions coming at us and getting that affirmation or lack of affirmation. And when we're like, hey, I am me dealing with me. Am I going to develop self-trust and like freaking show up as the artist I really am? Or am I going to like freak out in my head? It's completely, I am in a vacuum here. It's up to me.
No, you're right. And because it is long form, there is space. There is permission, because you're not just like 2 pages of dialogue and you're done. Either you were brilliant or you were not. Here's pages and pages. And so there's perhaps even permission to fail and then pick up and fail and pick up. And it's like all of that, which then becomes this like, well, I'm just here. I'm just doing my thing. So the length, I feel like, also caters to what you're saying.
My mind is blown. I have definitely, like, I feel like on some earlier episode talked about how audiobooks are this impossible mountain to climb because, with film or theater, we have so much more time to prepare, and there's so much fewer, like, we get to focus on one character typically, and how like it's just an impossible task and we're basically going to fail at it, but like embrace that as a challenge. And you just conceptualized it as like, well, because it's long form, there's space. Play, and it just like completely flipped like my sort of worried brain like over and said like, but look at it this completely other way.
Maybe that's how I console myself. When
Good.
It's going and I'm like, I don't know how it's going, and it's like, okay, well, you've started and you're gonna go to the end.
Yeah, that's right. It's gonna be a journey.
Yeah. And so you just go, okay, well, next sentence, here we go. Which then, in film and TV, you'll do it multiple times to try to get it right. But you don't, there's only so many times. In the beginning, I used to be like, oh no, this sentence. And then I was like, oh my God, it's taking me forever to do an audiobook. And so I had to be like, okay, well, and there's a gift in that.
Yeah, it's the medium that teaches us how to jump off the darn diving board.
It's true. It's true.
Goodness. Our conversation today has had so many incredible visuals and images and metaphors. I love it. This is great.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to talk about stuff. I feel like I've learned so much.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Deepti. We really, really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here in this space with you.
Thanks so much for listening to Crafting Audiobooks. We've been your hosts, Jennifer Jill Araya
and Sarah Beth Goer.
Wishing you happy audiobook listening and/or crafting.
Bye for now.